In toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we the people rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, guys, welcome to A Free Solution. And this is Coffee and Freedom on A Free Solution. And joining me today, I've got two guys out in Chemung County that, well, one is already elected and the other one is hoping to get elected. And they want to take a big stand against corruption. They want to take a big stand towards freedom. And guys, how do you feel about lowering taxes? What do you think about that?
I think that would be a great thing to do. People that own property and buy stuff in our county should be able to pay less.
What about you, Nick? Do you hate taxation is theft? What if I put that out there?
Taxation is theft. If we can lower taxes by reducing the number of taxes or, the percentage that someone is taxed, I think that's great. So many times when it comes to budgets, people, elected officials, bureaucrats look to increasing taxes to balance a budget instead of reducing costs.
That sounds beautiful. That warms my conservative libertarian heart. So, look, we're gonna try to do some free form discussion, but I got a couple questions for you guys. Right? So, Craig, you're running for the 12th district in Chemung County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me ask you this. Give us, and I want to keep this as open, broad as possible. But why should the voters of the 12th district choose you over the incumbent and the guys that you're running against?
Okay, well, I've been the only one of the people here that's been standing up for the the freedoms of people that were locked out of their work, being pressured, forced to take vaccines against their will. When all the shutdowns happened back in 2020, I was involved with the protests, trying to make our voices heard with the legislature in different places. The current legislator, he kind of just went along to get along. Whichever way the wind blow, he would go along with it.
Can I just put a point of emphasis on that, Craig? Because I'm kind of like, anybody that served under the last COVID authoritarianism, I just want to offer the people a better choice. Let's get rid of them all. What do you think about that? That says anti-incumbency. Not you, Nick. I know we'll get there. Don't worry. But look, if you didn't stand against this COVID authoritarianism on some level, what did you actually do? So I want to put a point of emphasis on that. You're going to stand against any more kind of authoritarianism like that. Is that fair?
100%. That's where it got started with me. Sent me down this road, and I've spent a good amount of time out in my neighborhoods talking to people that were not happy with the way this county has been governed the last 4 years. And I mean, maybe I won't be the right choice for everybody, but there's a lot of people that want something different, and I'm here to give them that choice.
Let me rephrase that. Maybe people will think you're not the right choice for them, but I think that they're wrong. I think as you develop your platform here and you talk about these things, that what you're offering is actually a much, much better choice than the incumbent. And I guess a Republican running against you?
Yeah. There was it's kind of a long story, but
Tell some parts of it. See if you can boil it down into a couple sentences. Because I think I have friends that are very disappointed with politics as usual. So I think your story is pretty interesting.
So to go back, you want to go all the way back to where we were trying to get on the Republican line, or just the?
I think that's an okay place to start. But I want to talk about this notion that there are people in the Republican Party that are decent human beings. It's like there's people in the Democratic Party that are decent human beings, and they have no understanding of the gamesmanship that goes on in this you guys might want to reel me in this freaking clown world kind of nonsense that red versus blue garbage So go ahead, please. Just talk about a little bit of what you did.
Okay, so we were sort of working with a couple other Republicans that were trying to challenge the status quo here in Chemung County and run for a majority of the seats that are up for election.
Okay.
Nick and I were working with them. They didn't have Republican candidates in our district that we both represent, Nick in the 11th and mine in the 12th. So we were attempting to also get the Republican endorsement, and we were told to call everybody on the county Republican committee and, sell them on the idea that we would be good representatives for them running for county legislator. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Nick. I don't want to go off base. But so we did that, spent many hours trying to talk to a lot of the committee members. When the chair we were trying to get answers on how to actually go about getting this endorsement, especially because
can I jump in for one moment?
Yes, please.
Please do. I can see that we got Craig on the spot, and I think that the beard I just was waiting to let the beard have impact. So, bro, do it.
Nick is better at explaining this part than me. He is.
Yeah, do it, bro. Bring it up. Let's go.
So traditionally, there's a process called Wilson-Pakula, which gives authorization for non-registered, non-affiliated members of a party to run on that line, and that's simply we're Libertarians, so we were seeking the Wilson-Pakula to run on the Republican line. Simply, it's a sign of a piece of paperwork giving authorization for us to run. That's the traditional way that any politician, elected official, any candidate seeks a line other than what they're registered on. So we went to the county convention for the Republicans here in Chemung County. One of their committee members made a motion to authorize us to run on the line, and that motion was struck down and ruled out of order, and the meeting was quickly adjourned by the chairperson. And then I'll kind of pick up where Craig left off. So at that point, we started to explore some options. That one option was opportunity to ballot. Opportunity to ballot is a traditional process where someone from any registered party, or no party, an independent for that matter, can petition registered members of that party to cause a primary, force a primary. So we were successful, I think, by great strides. In most cases, we far exceeded that threshold, that level of expectation that even a Republican would have to, hit that mark, whether it was, 12 or 15 signatures. Craig, I know you were in the 100 plus. I got, close to that as well.
Hold on. There's another emphasis there, okay? And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that sometimes we'll get talking and people will lose details. You guys went out, got hundreds of signatures to get on this opportunity to ballot for the Republicans. They had no one running, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. They were Republicans. The Republican Party was just going to let the incumbents walk back into their jobs.
Yep.
Okay.
Two Democratic incumbents too, not even Republican incumbents, but two Democrats. And
yes, exactly. And look, I'm not anti-Democrat. I think there's good, but
and neither am I. But so many times we hear, from the Republican, committees and parties, party members that, hey, we want to get Republicans elected, and then the second priority is let's get Democrats out. Well, Kreger and I are neither one of those things, and frankly, I think we're better than either. But I guess that's my humble opinion.
Well, first of all, guys, let's be honest with everybody. I'm a Libertarian. You guys and I have met through our Libertarian activities. And look, if you like me, like these guys. If you don't like me, give these guys a chance anyway, okay? Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, that's a reality. But I think it's important to point out that there's a systemic issue where Republicans are kind of like, they had no interest in protecting their turf until you guys tried to get on their line, right?
It's interesting, yeah.
I'm just saying. And so, look, my friend Brian LaRusso has a comment out there that again, I want to always try to separate the people from the system, right? And so Brian does a lot of work trying to spread this concept of freedom and trying to stand against corruption in our area. And we're seeing this consistent theme of like a petty tyranny. Now that's me, guys. I don't know like how you guys want to go about handling that. So Nick, you did a pretty good job of breaking it down for people. And Craig, you were on the right track, man. But I'm glad that Nick jumped in. So the question that I started with Craig was like, why? And you're running for District 11, right?
I'm running for the 11th district in Chemung County.
Okay.
Yes.
So why should people vote for you? Like, let's talk about your political track record here.
Well, to answer your question, first and foremost, the 11th district is the most contested race in the county. I think that speaks volumes for what's going on here. After speaking to the people over at, the Chemung County Board of Elections, this is the most contested year in Chemung County for every race. They've never, seen this many candidates turn out to run.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Thank you. So why am I the best candidate? Well, I'm 32 years old, born and raised here in Elmira. Didn't even leave to go to college. I did go to college, went to Corning Community College, met my college sweetheart. Been together just this past week, was 14 years. We have 2 beautiful boys. The city of Elmira, Chemung County has always been my home. My business is here over a decade now. And as corny as it might sound, I love Elmira, I love Chemung County. I've been an advocate and a supporter and a fighter for people, on the Elmira City Council level. I'm the first third-party elected city official and the youngest elected city official. So I want to bring that same passion, that same energy, and the same fight for the people of Elmira and Chemung County to county government.
All right, guys, I'm moving to Chemung County, and I'm voting for both these two guys. I don't know if that's legal. I'm not quite sure, but I share a similar passion for my area. Right, I grew up here. I went to college nearby, and spent my entire life in this area, and I've seen it. We lose businesses, and we see our taxes go up, and we see our neighbors leave, and so Craig, like, neighbors leaving and us spending $40,000 a year on kids. Like, I know there's not always things that you can do about those specific issues, but what are your feelings about that?
I think it's absolutely terrible how they just make the cost of everything go up, and declaring that people that don't subscribe to their progressive agendas to not be welcome here in New York. This is our home too. I may not have grown up in Elmira, but I've been here for 15 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Southern Tier of New York. Grew up outside the Binghamton area. My wife has lived here her whole life. My kids grew up here. So Absolutely, I don't want anybody else, to leave that are good people. It's absolutely disgusting how the way that people that don't subscribe to the progressive agenda are treated in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't want to I want to throw a little curveball at you, right? And maybe it's not really a curveball, but what we have here are 2 guys that grew up in this area that are saying we're stuck in this emotional authoritarianism and this cycle of taxes going up and people wanting to get control and tell you what to do with your life. And I find that to be depressing. And I'd like you guys both to speak to that a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Could I comment first on that?
In, bro. That beard needs some airtime, buddy. Let's go.
I groomed it just for you this morning, Tim.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm joking about your beard, but libertarians are fond of beards. I am. That's a good beard. So please go ahead.
Supporters and friends often say that this beard's full of integrity, much like Abe Lincoln. So enough of the beard. So to answer your question, I do auto detailing for a living. So as you can imagine, people spend a lot of times in their car, and I found it all. At least I think I have this point, but I continue to get surprised. So with respects to maintaining confidentiality and not digressing, just yesterday I was doing a vehicle, and I found a note piece of paper in a car, and I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I was just, it was clearly a piece of garbage thrown on the floor, but I opened it, and on it simply looked like, thoughts of the day, something that somebody was mad at. And this guy, this person, we recently moved from the progressive West Coast, California, and he is of Asian ethnicity. And on the piece of paper said things I'm mad at today. And one of them said progressivism, New York State, and some other things. But, since you brought up the topic, I mean, here's a person who seemingly should probably be for all this progressive stuff. And throughout life, I come across people who come here legally as country, to different regions for, freedoms, whether it's to escape, persecution, socioeconomic, tyrants, whatever the case may be. But they come to this country for the promise of a better tomorrow. If, you respect people, you work hard, the possibilities are endless.
We want them to be endless. And I feel like we're entering this time where authoritarians demand us to participate in their virtue signaling games. And not all programs are bad. It's not that. It's just the constant increasing force of like the government saying, hey, we've got 50.1% of the vote. You have to do exactly what we say is very concerning to me. And I want a better future for my kids. I think it will help with everything if we can kind of dial that back. So Craig, Nick gave us a little rundown on what he's doing for work. What are you doing? Like, what small business guy? I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, my wife and I run a company called Colwell Creative Content. She started it back in 2012 with just writing website copy, basically the words that go on websites, blogs, pages, and started that whole thing. But she's grown it now to the point where she needed help running it. Started a social media department. I'm heading that up. So yeah, we contract probably a little more than 20 different writers work with us. We've had over 100 clients and building up this digital marketing agency. Our daughter is involved. It's kind of a family company at this point, with our daughter being the business manager. And it's a completely different career path for me. I grew up on a dairy farm.
I have that. I was a farmer, man. That is awesome. I guess I forgot that you and I shared that common experience of doing the hardest work in the world for next to no money. And always waking up and going, well, why do we do it this way? And why is this so hard? And why are we so dedicated to it? And let's be honest, guys, taxes beat up on these guys, and these regulations, these virtuous signaling regulations that I'm talking about. And again, not all regulations are bad, but we're imposing this awesome burden, this horrible burden on people that are already burdened with the hardest job in the world, Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The environmental regulations absolutely kill small farms.
And there's ways to fix it for them. Like I talked about when I was running for New York State Senate. We distinctly try to control their operations. We distinctly, as a government, kind of control the prices on their milk. We control the prices on their land. And then we tell them what they can do with their land all the time. And so would you guys, and this is one of my things that I love to talk about, right? Would you guys advocate a system where we take farmers and we give them the ability to develop pieces of their land for whatever use they want? And so, like, let's say we need greenways between farms and water sources. All right. So if there's a river running through it, they need to build a greenway there. But could they put a couple houses that would facilitate the greenway that would become self-maintaining? Can we allow farmers to develop their property like that? Would you guys be in favor of stuff like that?
Nick, you want to go first? Since
I'm in favor. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Craig. I'd be in favor of letting private property owners, use their property in any way that they see fit, to better their lives, create prosperity for the communities that they serve, as long as it doesn't, pollute the environment or negatively affect their neighbor's property. I mean, it seems pretty commonsensical and logical to me, but I don't have this inner burning desire to be a tyrant. So who am I?
You're like a heretic in modern politics today. So and guys, look, if I make a bad joke, do not hold it against these guys, okay? So one of the things that I do want to ask you guys about, because like I said, I'm a libertarian, you're a libertarian. What does libertarianism mean to you guys? Because I think it seems like the definition's a little nebulous, and I want you guys to put it out there.
Let Craig go first.
Let Craig go first.
What does it mean to me is basically just the government shouldn't be involved in telling people what to do necessarily. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. If you hurt people and take your stuff, then obviously consequences should be dealt with. But really, there should be decentralized power as much as possible, as local as possible. Everyone's accountable for themselves. And basically, that's what it boils down to. Private property is a huge priority. And that's really where it goes.
I think our it feels like, and it appears, and every day we see news stories to back it up, but that our private rights to private property, especially land and home ownership, seems to be under assault. Like they're taking people's property as they raise their taxes. They're saying, hey, you can't rent out a room to somebody because you'll never be able to evict them. Like they're going to be stuck there forever. And maybe we're too involved in this stuff and we're actually limiting opportunities for people. I don't know. Like, call me crazy. What do you think, Nick? What about your libertarianism? How did you get here? What's it mean to you?
I mean, simply put, in as few words as possible, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. I mean, we've all heard that a million times. That's what resonates most with me. But yeah, the government shouldn't be infringing on the lives of individuals and how they choose to live, as long as it's not negatively affecting someone else. Live and let live. It's that simple.
We got a couple comments I love fielding comments, and I love the thoughtful comments that we get. We got my buddy Brian again. Creating rules, laws, regulations to crush the people so that they are dependent on the government. The public servant has lost their way, and they think that they are masters. Modern day slavery. You guys, I think Brian's onto something there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with his sentiment wholeheartedly. I see it. We're living it. One small correction: true public servants haven't lost their way. We're few and far between. But politicians have lost their way. They're self-serving, and they don't advocate for the majority of people that gave them their job, elected them to represent them.
I think that's great. That was a great way to put it. I think that some people don't understand that when we're advocating for individual rights and liberties, we're actually advocating for the smallest minority of all, the individual. And I think that we've lost our way with that. We got a hot one about right here. I love this one, right? This is, guys, right? Like environmental regulations kill small farms. And yet, guys, if we have a smaller managed, micro-managed property that, like, it's 100%. Better for the environment. It's better for your community. And guys, make it easy. The farmers build families. They build relationships with the environment, and they're a part of our community. Environmental regulations kill small farms, yet small farms are actually better for the environment.
Absolutely.
Can I make a comment to tie into that, Tim?
Please do, man. Jump in.
Yeah, so absolutely right. The comment about regulations killing small farms, and small farms are actually better for the environment. So locally here, especially economic-wise, there's, especially before the pandemic and all the closures past 2 years, there was a whole big initiative for shop local, right? Whether it's shopping local for professional service, for that restaurant, for that retail. What about our food? Shake the hand of your farmer. I know you guys know that, coming from two farming families. That resonates with me. I'm, third generation immigrant. My family came here from around the world, and they were small farmers. So, this whole shop local push was very present and apparent before COVID. And then when the regulations started to lift up, that came back again. Small Business Saturday, go support, small business on Saturdays, go support your favorite small business. And I think all of us would really miss an opportunity for that same correlation, getting back to shake the hand of your farmer, right? Instead of, going to Walmart or Tops or Wegmans. And I love Wegmans just as much as the next guy. So I'm not slighting Danny whatsoever, but what's wrong with, instead of going to the grocery store, oftentimes you don't know where that tomato, that onion, that potato, that cut of meat came from, when 99% of the time there's a local farm that raises cattle, and a butcher shop that procures that cattle into usable cuts of meat that we all love and enjoy, or supporting, your neighbor that has a garden down the road. Tomatoes half the price, and they're organically grown and not sprayed with pesticides, and you could be supporting that little boy's college fund down the road.
Yeah, guys, I go way out of my way, and I shouldn't even say I go way out of my way. I have relationships with a couple of farmers. That's where I source all of my beef from. Like it's procured from local people, local families trying to build a future. And guys, it's easier than it sounds, right? All you got to do is know somebody that knows somebody, and then you have a conversation with your neighbor, and you find somebody. The one guy that supplies most of my meat, it's just a small guy that did coaching and stuff like that. And so, like, I ran into him and got into a conversation with him. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I sell quarters of beef and halves of beef." And I'm like, "Boom, fill my freezer." Like we worked out a deal. The quality is incredible, guys. I'm telling you, I love ground beef. I love tacos. I love meatloaf. I love, meatballs and things like that. So, and I like to cook. So, the ground beef that you get from this guy is so lean. And it's grass-fed primarily, and it's like absolutely delicious. And this guy's not like he's not fattening them up with like grain, and he's not dumping antibiotics into their food. It's just like, here's a cow, here's a big pile of meat, give me a pile of money, we move on our way. I just love supporting local people like that. I don't know, like I kind of feel like we should talk about something that is actually incredibly important. And look, we get into like political purity as libertarians, and guys, I think it on some level hurts our party, but you guys also did the work to get on a second line. And I think some of my friends out here should be excited enough to send you some money for this. Like, you did work to get on another line. And so, Craig, tell us what the line is, and then Nick, talk about why you think it's important to be proactive like this.
Okay,
what line you guys get?
All right, so thank you. We both have the endorsement of our local Chemung County Conservative Party as well. I think in large part thanks to Nick's connection with the chairperson, but we both went to their meetings and spoke on our own behalves and got the votes to get the endorsements, and went out and got the signatures to appear on their ballot. I really resonated well when I talked to the conservative voters in my district, and I'm guessing Nick did as well.
I speak in conservative. They get me. All right. Like, they don't want to jump off the same cliff I want to jump off, but like, they get me. All right. And Nick, what do you think? Like, it is good to develop relationships. And I'm sorry that I laughed, Craig. I didn't mean to. It's like, but Nick, talk about your relationship. Talk about how this is a way for the future. And guys, I think that there's a real possible collaboration between conservatives and, honestly, like, maybe some of those Green Party people. I got some friends that are Bernie supporters. Like, I think there's this real possible connection that says, "Hey, government force, leave us alone." What do you think, Nick?
The connection I think that you're alluding to, in my mind, and it's just not me, but from going out and knocking on doors, engaging with people, listening, hearing from them about their concerns. The connection between all of that, I think, is nobody likes the extremes from the right or for the left, right? Most of us are right here in the center, and we're constantly towing that line. So why is it important in our race? Well, my last race in 19 for city council, I was a registered Democrat for 12 years. I'm not ashamed to say that. But at some point in time, in 19, I re-registered as a Libertarian because for a long period of time, my morals, my principles were best aligned with that party, and something happened here locally. Like, this was a godsend, this was a sign, and I went and re-registered. I still have a lot of Democratic friends that aren't extremists. I've got a lot of Republican friends that aren't extremists. So the connection, nationally and at the state level and locally, it was important for me to be on the Democratic and Libertarian line in 19 when I won. This time around, after everything we're seeing socially and economically, I think it's important that I'm on the Libertarian and Conservative line. And it's not that it's party politics or I'm jumping around. It's what people want, and they see the fallacies and the shortcomings, and they don't want the extremes on the right. They don't want the extremes on the left. They want someone that's going to advocate for sensibility and common sense right here in the middle, and they know how to advocate for that.
Yeah, I'm going down this road of seeing things as authoritarian versus individual liberty, and we're calling it like we're in the center. I think that's like long been the challenge. I can remember a point where I literally thought the Democratic Party had broken itself and it was never coming back. And then the Republican Party elected George Bush, and he was like, okay, he did some things that I really couldn't stand. So like this thing, I
Cough,
don't
cough,
know.
Patriot Act.
Yeah, supporting the Patriot Act, starting the whole response to 9/11 that ended up going on forever, getting us into Afghanistan. Like for 20 years, we replaced the Taliban with the Taliban. Congratulations, foreign policy. And guys, again, if I offend you, do not hold that against these guys. But think about what I'm saying. That's all I'm asking. So yeah, I see this growing authoritarianism where I'm actually literally afraid the radical left and the radical right are going to find something to agree on, put on the same color boots, and come marching up Main Street. Like, I don't know. This it's too much.
That isn't so far fetched. And I think along with the extremists on the left and extremists on the right, the connection they have is they believe that they can use the strong arm and the power of the government to force their will onto everybody else. And that's not right on any level, regardless of what you think. Force shots, no force shots, essential versus non-essential. The list goes on and on.
It does. It does. I don't know. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Me too. I'm gonna need some more coffee.
Yeah, you guys got anywhere you want to take this next piece of this discussion?
What's the next piece?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. What is the next piece? We've got the Republicans and Democrats are one party. I think we've covered that. Libertarian and conservatives need to join forces. I think libertarians, conservatives, and everyone that recognizes that the government's growing into this authoritarian mess, like, need to join forces and chill out. Let's see. Let me tell a story about how this is going to be a little bit weird but bear with me for a second, guys. I when I first got out of high school and got away from our farm life, one of the businesses I went into was the restaurant business. And so I eventually ended up being a bartender. And one of the things as a bartender that I used to do was I'd go and visit other bartenders and I'd leave big tips. And then when I was working and they weren't, they would come and leave me big tips and bring their friends. So I'm suggesting to our libertarian friends that I've supported, that I've sent money to, that you take the time to help grow this thing where we travel around and help out each other. And in other words, guys, I know when I was running and I'd get a $5 or $10 or $20 donation, like that would make my freaking day. Do you guys got like, and I'll share it on my page, or if you can type it into the private chat, I'll share it right now. But I want to support the notion that people could send you $5 or $10, make a Saturday for you and help you buy some signs. What do you think about that?
I love the sounds of that. Every little bit helps.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys manage to get that together, or do you want me to share it on my page later?
What do you need?
I can shoot a link over momentarily.
Or our private chat, you guys' links to, and my apologies for not bringing this up earlier, guys, but we're going to hit up people for money right now for you guys and see if that's successful.
People can go to craigfor12.com is my website. There's a donate button, but I'll also put a link in too.
Okay, let me type that in. Sorry about the dead air, guys. I definitely wanted to get this out there, and I didn't adequately prep for it. But craigfor12.com, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. That's my main page.
All right. So that's one way to help these guys out and make their day. Now, guys, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful Saturday. What are you guys going to do to campaign today?
Unfortunately, actually, fortunately for me, I won't be doing much campaigning per se, but we've got a friend's birthday party for one of his daughters, and then a soccer game. So some campaigning might indirectly happen just through natural, conversations and relationships with, fellow parents and team player parents.
I frankly, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon too. My little guy's going to be playing some football. My little guy, I say, he's like 160 pounds. Like, So we got a football game up in Cooperstown that I'm going to be at. And
Nice.
guys, I always take a little bit of time to talk about my political philosophy, enough to actually drive people crazy. So I apologize for that to my friends. But I think it's important to know that we've got guys that are proactively running for office. Nick, there it is. Yeah. Go ahead.
I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, Tim. You know, and where we want to take this next thing. So many times, you know, people are so, you know, maybe distracted or emotionalized with what's going on nationally or statewide, when so much of what actually affects us and our friends and our family and our daily lives happens right here in our backyards, in our communities, in our counties, in our cities, and our towns and villages. And if, you know, something really resonates with someone passionate about it, there's no better way to, you know, start the fight per se than right here in our communities. We're seeing out of Niagara County them push back against these new concealed carry, you know, permitting processes across the state. Their legislature passed a resolution, a majority resolution with all 15 of them, that says, hey, we disapprove of this. This causes chaos, public safety concerns, our law enforcement officers hands are tied, and you know, it'll be interesting to see what other counties, you know, piggyback off that initiative and what comes from it, from hopefully a majority of counties from across the state. I've spoken to a couple local legislators here, and, you know, allegedly there is something in the works that the Chemung County legislature is going to pass. And most definitely, if I was acting elected that capacity, I would definitely support something that pushes back against pretty much an unfunded state mandate that causes, you know, grief here in our communities and strain on our community and our resources. I mean, again, it's a no-brainer, but people and on your, you know, I think so disconnected from all of us that they don't care.
That's well said, Nick. In Otsego County a couple of years ago, a number of people, including myself, but more, I want to give credit where credit is due. There's a great group of guys that wanted to make Otsego County a Second Amendment sanctuary of sorts, and they did a bunch of work, and they got thousands and thousands of signatures, and fantastic grassroots support. People were just signing these petitions, and then people, like, of course, the counter narrative, people were stealing petitions out of stores and stuff like that just because they don't like that. But they never got due process from their representatives on that issue. They shuffled it off to a committee. Now that Niagara County has done it, now there seems to be this renewed interest, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, our sheriff steps up and makes a bold statement about this. But to everybody that's excited about this right now, one of the things that I want to point out is that if we had taken these positive, proactive steps that were on the table before, we may not have to face this authoritarian stuff. Like, that's why positive, proactive action is important. So, guys, Nancy Pelosi, what does she do to change your life? Just tell me.
What did Nancy Pelosi do to change her life?
Yeah, what does she do to affect you? I want to piggyback off of a point Nick was making there, but people get upset about Nancy Pelosi. What does she do to ruin your lives, guys?
I like all the memes that people make because of her.
She is good at sponsoring memery. That's for sure. People get upset and they get caught. Let me see if I can clarify what I'm trying to say. People get upset.
To answer your question, she doesn't do anything that directly impacts my life, right? I think is the answer you were looking for.
It was. I did a bad job of leading you to it. Go ahead. She does. They do nothing, right? Even our favorites, even my favorite Thomas Massey doesn't do enough to impact my life in a positive fashion. Nancy Pelosi does practically nothing to impact my life in a negative fashion. But if I help Chemung County and in turn Otsego County, and in turn we collaborate on great ideas that will lower taxes and increase freedom for everybody, then maybe we've made an impact on the world. Craig, what do you think about that?
Absolutely, we need to start locally. That's the more people that see people standing up to this too and getting involved in the process, I think that gives more courage to more people to stand up and do this sort of thing. I wouldn't be where I'm at if I hadn't met Larry Sharp 4 years ago doing what he was doing. and getting involved with all this, meeting Nick, meeting you, the more people we can get speaking out on this stuff, the more people we can bring in that are going to push for accountability in their government and be able to stand up and make their voices heard. Even if it's not something they think that, that they're going to do, they can support it, tell their friends. I mean, I have somebody that's been talking to me about politics that has not paid any attention to politics before. I'm explaining everything to her from like basic, child level knowledge of politics. But she follows me on social media, so she's asking me questions,
That is going to make all the difference in the world. Okay. Yeah. So we must concentrate, my buddy again, Brian LaRusso, we must concentrate locally first, take it back and grow from there. I'm going to put this out there, guys. We need coaches, we need players, we need cheerleaders. Okay. Yeah. And like, I'm kind of a cheerleader, right? I kind of get in there and I kind of talk about the reality of what the government's doing to us. And we need people that are players, and you guys are players, right? You're getting in there, you're getting your hands dirty, and you're going to make some impact. I think that, again, I want to reiterate that a couple bucks can kind of make your guys' day. It's almost an emotional support thing, right? Like, do you have shirts available for sale, Craig?
I do. Nick does as well, but yeah, every dollar.
You guys both have shirts available. Fantastic.
Yeah, every $5-10 helps getting signs. I know we both want to do mailers and possibly run some Facebook ads. Those kinds of things are not free. So signs. The time for signs is coming up. And Tim, I love that you're the Libertarian Flav hyping us up.
That's good. Ideas don't require force, man. We just keep spreading them. Like that's the issue. So, guys, I think we've covered it. I want people to help you with let's talk about one more thing that people that are libertarians and conservatives can do to help you guys out. I have a list of names, 50 or so, of people that I'm going to call on Craig's behalf. Guys, this hands-on personal touch that takes, I bet if you do it right, you could get 50 phone calls out in 2 hours or an hour and a half. And if you get a message machine, you leave your number, ask them to call you back. You say some good things about these guys, that they're freedom-based, that they're conservatives, that they're libertarians, that they see the sense of local politics. I want people to step up and help you guys out. Would you accept that help?
Absolutely.
I know. Do you have ideas?
Yes.
Do you have a list like that, possibly, Nick? Or could you prepare one for people that are going to step up and get involved in this?
We've got lists. So if there's anyone willing to help, I can definitely break off a small piece of that list, and whatever someone wants to knock out would be greatly appreciated.
Fantastic. I think we're going to start. Rich and I were talking the other day. Rich Bertel, as you guys have seen on this show many times, we're talking somewhere after October 1st. We're going to start making calls, and hopefully, I know I've had other friends participate in this program in the past, and I think that Rich put on a pretty good show. I think that, Craig, I'm going to tell you, you got like a little luckily coattail action here. You got a guy that's in there doing the job saying, vote for my buddy Craig. So I hope you guys are going to do any events together and really kind of get together and talk to people, or what's going to go on with that?
We have done a couple events together. I don't think we have anything else planned right now.
All right.
But I have an idea.
It's not to say we can't.
Not to say we can't. It's true.
People get pretty active this time of year, and there's lots of like apple crushing festivals and things like that. So I think you got a lot of opportunity to get out there and look, I'm telling you, Nick, that beard is going to pull people in if you keep. I don't. So my friend Brian again, and Brian's making some great comments. I want to talk about this. He's in favor of Otsego County moving back to what's called a board of supervisors, where all of your towns in your local county send a representative versus an actual, like the system of a board of county reps. Would you guys support kind of a grassroots initiative like that, even though it's going to cost you your job on the county level eventually?
Can I comment on that? Can I take the lead on this, please?
I would love it. Please do. Yeah, this is a complicated question because I'll be honest with you. When my buddy started bringing it up, I'm like, I don't think I like it. But go ahead.
So in Chemung County here, we used to have a board of supervisors, and exactly what you said, Tim. It was all of the town and villages supervisors that came to represent all those areas at the county level. At some point in time in Chemung County history, we had a city that was incorporated, right? It's the only city in our county. It's the county seat, and at that time, they needed a different style of government, right? So much like fast forward to 2022, just like much of New York State, we see depleting or decreasing populations all across the state. Unfortunately, not too many people are moving to Elmira or Chemung County, and I think that's the same case across New York State. So I think if that's what people wanted, to answer Brian's question, as elected representatives, that's what you do. But we have a different dynamic here in Chemung County. I don't think it would be adequate or righteous to go back to that style of government, the board of supervisors, and the only reason for that is because we do have a city that's the county seat, and the city does have higher population density, and they do need to be represented, especially when you consider variables like all the manufacturing, all the economic transactions that take place, all the professional services, all the churches, the not-for-profits that serve everybody throughout the county, transportation, institutions of higher education, Elmira College. So we would essentially have to dissolve the city's incorporation in the charter, and the city would have to be absorbed by all the surrounding municipalities. Now, I can't really get behind that because the city of Elmira is it's freaking awesome. I love it. I think a worthwhile discussion is maybe looking at the size of the current county legislature. Back to Niagara or even Erie County, they have 11 and 15 respective legislators, and their population supports that. Now, you look at Chemung County, where we're right around 83,000. Why do we need 15 legislators that comparably our neighbors to the north? They have county populations, around 900,000. So the ratio to elected officials to constituents, I think, is very disproportional. And if, the next legislature wanted to discuss decreasing the size of it and make it more appropriate to the ratio of the constituents you serve, I'd be happy to have that conversation. I'd be happy to discuss with the 5 districts within the city, a third of the county legislature. If we have to decrease that size, or maybe one of the smaller towns or villages in a more urban area, if they were absorbed and more well represented by similar representatives, then we talk about decreasing the size of that government, even if it means me giving up my seat.
Well, that is absolutely a fantastic answer. Like, I love the thoughtfulness that you gave to it, that you would consider it if your constituents brought it before you, and that there's, even if that doesn't work, you have other ideas that may serve Chemung County even better. So, guys, look, it's Saturday. I've had too much coffee. I feel like my brain is spinning in circles, and I'm going to start asking you the same questions over and over again. Again, I want to encourage. All right, before I conclude, you guys got anything you want to say, like to close out the show, and then I'll say a few words in closing. Craig, how about you first? I'll put you right on the spot. Step up and make your pitch, son.
I don't really have anything specific, but I really appreciate the opportunity, and I thank everybody for watching. Give me a chance. Check out my website. Send me an email. I'd be happy to discuss whatever issues you guys want to discuss in good faith. I appreciate any support, and if you want to get in touch with me, like I said, my email is on my website.
Okay. Besides Nick, there's only one other guy in all of New York State whose reelection at this moment I support, and that's Jose Pio out in Rochester, because he was anti-authoritarian mandate lockdown nonsense. And so if we don't reelect guys like Nick in contested races, are we having any impact at all? So you guys out in Chenango County, Nick, what do you want to say to finish this story? But I endorse you running again, and I don't want people to confuse my anti-incumbency with great candidates like yourself.
He's running for a different job.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Tim. And thanks for doing this. I welcome any and all opportunity to do something like this, talk to people, have a, logical, commonsensical, maybe even emotionalized conversation about things that are so important to us all and affect us. So thanks everybody for watching. If you want to support in any way, nickgrassony.com, all the respective tabs for, volunteering or donating or learning about me, definitely reach out. I really pride myself on constituent services and just listening and trying to help people.
Yeah, and I promised everybody in the advertisement for this, you guys are going to stand against that corruption thing that goes on, where we're seeing this collaboration between government and their buddies, where we had in Otsego County, the whole city just give up a land that had been dedicated to the city of Oneonta, just give it to a developer, and then the developer goes grant farming and builds a bunch of houses that we're not sure that we need. You guys are going to stand against stuff like that, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And my voting record on city council, proves that. This isn't just lip service I'm giving to you guys or anybody else that might be listening. I encourage you, go to a council meeting or a legislature meeting or your town or village's board meeting. Go to school board meetings. Hold your elected officials accountable. Look them in the eye. Let them know what you're thinking and feeling. Foil their voting records. See if they're doing what they told you they would do.
That's a great idea. Like, foils are a pretty powerful weapon. And guys, I just want to point out my friend Brian LaRusso is taking advantage of the foil situation. We're going to explore. I don't want to put you guys on the spot. Brian and I on Sunday night are probably going to explore an issue of corruption locally that some of it may actually be legal, some of this corruption that we're seeing. And we're going to kind of try to take that head on and explain to people what's going on. First of all, more importantly than coming on the show, I want to thank both of you guys for putting in the legwork that you're putting in to spread this message of Libertarian Party, this notion that we can govern ourselves and that there, with effort comes success. I just appreciate the hell out of both of you guys, and I want the best for Chemung County. That's why I had John. Your competitors can come on too if they want to, but they won't like me as much as you guys do. I promise them that. Thank you guys very much. Thank you all for the comments.
You're welcome.
Please do. Yes, Craig.
If you got any people watching in Chemung County, if they, Nick had mentioned that he'd heard legislature is going to be bringing forward the 2A issue, like Niagara County did. The next open meeting is October 10th at 7:00 at the legislature building. So if people want to show up to that.
Are you guys going to be there?
Well, I'm planning on it. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's exactly the kind of representation that people deserve. Thank you both. I wish you the best of luck. People, if you've got this, share it on your pages. Let's let people know that we have proactive, libertarian, conservative, individual rights people running for office. Thank you all very much. Go have an enjoyable Saturday. Get out there and rub elbows. Watch a football game. Go buy some corn. It's almost out of season. Do something to support your neighbors and have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.